I do want to thank you all for spending the time with me and joining the webinar. My name is Josh. I've been working for Solid Commerce for quite some time, so I might know a few of you, and so it's great to catch up with everybody here. I'm really excited to be hosting this webinar. I haven't hosted a webinar in a while, and I do want to also note that I've been recovering from a cold, so I apologize if there's any sort of sniffling. I'll try to mute out any coughing that might be, that might catch me. So apologies there if you hear any of that, but still going to, again, be really excited and go through this material. The webinar, or actually this release was really mainly about um, bringing the new order manager user interface to everyone, to all users. uh, so that was the focal point here. The new order manager has been used for a period of time. We've been refining it, improving it, optimizing it, and we're finally feel ready to bring it to everyone, and that was very exciting. So with that said, let me go ahead and move on to the agenda. And one other thing I wanted to note with the webinar is if you have any questions, go ahead and send those through the chat. That way we won't have any sort of audio problems or disruptions with the audio. But let me get back here for the agenda. So what we'll cover is, like I said, new order manager for everyone. So I'll kind of give you a quick tour through that. We'll go through some of the benefits of the new user interface versus the original interface. And I'll talk a little bit about a small change we made to classifying orders that come from web stores. And then we'll look at shipping through the new order manager and kind of some of the few of the technical details there. And then we'll finish up by talking about continuing to ship through the desktop Solid Ship shipping tool. And I do want to say we have no plans to remove the desktop-based Solid Ship shipping tool. So that's going to continue to be available to you, and you can use the new order manager in conjunction with that tool. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and hop into the support site real quick, and then we'll get on to the new order manager. So in the support site, we've been adding all of the release notes. And so I'll just show you where they are. So for each release, there are notes. We email these out. We post a notification in Channels Manager as well. But these notes are going to be the most detailed about any given release. That way, if you're interested in any of the topics in those shorter emails, you can hop in here and get more details. So this is the release notes for this release. There's a few things in here which we're going to run through in this webinar, but most of the content from the webinar is also in this article, as well as at the bottom we have some related articles that go into more detail about the new order manager. So this is a good reference point for you after the webinar if you want to quickly review something or get more detailed information on some of these topics. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the new order manager. And the first thing to note is how do you get here? So you go into the orders menu, and what you should see now is that there's an orders manager. That'll be this new page, and there's an order manager legacy, and that's going to be the original user interface. And again, you will have access to both for the current period of time. We do plan to remove the legacy order manager at some point, but what we'll do is we'll notify you at least 60 days ahead. We haven't determined the final timeline because we're still gathering feedback on the new one, as well as just making sure that whatever timeline we set, we give you plenty of time to get prepared, and also that it won't be too disruptive. So, but we'll definitely let you know at least 60 days out on that. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to some of the benefits of the new order manager. So this is the legacy order manager, which everybody's familiar with. And you see when you come here, there's no orders displayed. So the first thing you'll notice when you come to the new UI is right away it's loading all of your paid orders by default. So that just gives you something to already look at. You don't have to click search to get that started. So that's one difference there. You'll also notice right away the look of it is much cleaner, easier to look at. It conserves space because at the top we have the action bar, but below that you got all your orders, so you have plenty of room to work with. If you'd like even more orders to appear on the page, we have this reduce row height. You can see that tightens that. You get more orders and you can reduce it even more and really pack the orders on there. And you can go right back. So this gives you a little more space to look at each order. Um, as far as viewing ordered items, before you could switch back and forth. Here we just have a tab, so it's even easier. And the orders load quickly when you go back and forth. I'm back to the order view. It's going to reappear very rapidly. So, quick load back and forth between items and orders view. And the other thing I mentioned was this action bar. So this is always in the same place, just giving you a quick, easy reference to know where you can always find any action that you could perform on an order. You'll notice most of them are grayed out and that it's prompting me to select an order. So we can go ahead and do that. And now we see that they're enabled, and so they're disabled until you can do something with them. And you'll notice that one of the buttons is a ship now. So you can print labels out of the user interface. So again, that's a big change from the old interface. You cannot print labels out of the website. You would print them out of the desktop-based tool. Here you can print them right out of the user interface. It works through a small widget which it will prompt you to download. It's the Solid Commerce Label Printing Client, which you see down here. It just runs all the time, very lightweight, but this is what allows our website to interact with your computer's printers to be able to print out your labels. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Ship Now pane. I'm not going to go into detail on the shipping process, but you can see over here just very clean interface as far as making your options. This is the ship with, meaning this is how I want the order to ship, so I can choose the different carriers. And you can set up a scale to automatically populate the weight. The system will also use any weight you have saved to your product, or you can enter the weight manually, so a lot of flexibility, but just a clean interface to be able to get those labels printed. Something else that you're also able to do through the UI that you could not do with the previous desktop-based tool is to print Seller Fulfill Prime labels from Amazon orders. And let's take a look at what those orders look like. This is the search bar now. So another way that you're going to save space on your monitor to really view as many orders as possible is we tuck the search up here. It takes over the menu so you don't lose any vertical space on your monitor. And there's a lot of filters in here. You can play around with them. The order date's nice because now we have some defaults. Custom range will allow you to obviously put in any date range that you like. But in this advanced filter, we have show only Amazon Prime orders. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And within the search bar, we have some different filters: buyer, details, the order number from the marketplace, SC order ID, and so on. So a lot of ways to search. And here's where we have the order statuses. Excuse me. So for this example, I got Prime orders. So the ones I'm concerned with are ones that need to be shipped out or are in a partially shipped status. So I can choose multiple statuses to look at the same time, or all statuses. And so right now I'm just looking at the Prime orders that are waiting to be shipped out or have been partially shipped. You can see a Prime badge icon here. So you know exactly which orders are the Prime orders. And As far as Prime's concerned, I select a Prime order, and it needs dimensions to interact with Amazon. I think this is a test account, so it's not actually connected with Amazon. Otherwise, we'd have the Amazon shipping methods because we're interacting with Amazon directly through their Buy Shipping API program, and Amazon will report back any available methods. This order is actually also too old, so that might be also why we're not seeing anything here, but I don't believe this account's connected to Amazon Seller Central. So um, if it were in here, you would be able to see Amazon as though it was a carrier. You can really ship with any carrier through Amazon, so you might be familiar with that. I won't go into any more detail there. I did get a question about comparing prices. You will get your estimate coming down here, and this is showing you what the buyer paid. So if you're going order by order, you can see what they paid, and you can get an estimate for any method that you're choosing. So it does give you a way to get an estimated shipping cost um, depending on the different carrier that you select. So that's a quick run through on the shipping. Something else worth noting as far as order management is the print button, and this is where you're going to be able to print your pick list or your packing slips, invoices. Um, Something else with the searches, so I perform this search. You can see that my filter is to only show the Amazon Prime orders. I've got just the paid and partially shipped orders, and I want to go ahead and save that. So I click the save button here. I can give it a name and save. And now it's displaying that my saved search is the one that we're looking at. I can switch to a different one. This one's called buyer notes, or any order that had a note coming from the buyer. And I can switch back now to Amazon Prime without having to reduplicate my search. So that'll save you time. Similarly, with the column setup, you can save different views, which will appear in this drop down. This is a more basic view here with less columns, and you can set those up in the column setup here. So if I click the plus, I'm going to have a new view. I can call it whatever I like. I start adding columns to it, and then I can move these up and down too, and what that does is shift them to the right so you can reorder the columns. So let's say the market order ID, that's one I want to see pinned to the left. So even if I have a scroll bar, it will always be available on the left. And so I could just freeze that. And so I'll save that. And now my view has been saved. It's available in the drop down. And when you log out, whatever view you were last viewing, it will be the same view when you log back in. So I can jump between them, but when I log out, this will be the one that we remember. Um, Next kind of benefit, the next new feature here is the orders per page. Similar to before, you had this, but you can go up to 500 orders per page. But we also have unlimited, and that's something that's new. If I choose unlimited, it's now loaded all orders, and as I scroll to the bottom, it just refreshes and allows me to keep scrolling. So it works on infinity scrolling, and I can keep viewing more and more orders that way. Something else that's different as well from the original order manager is the export. So I can select some orders here, go to export. If I'm on the items view, it will export the view that I'm looking at. We're on the orders view, so it will export the exact columns that we're looking at in this view. And if I change views and export, it will only have the columns that we're looking at. So that's nice. It's going to reflect what we're actually looking at. You do also have a special export where if you've been shipping your orders through Solid Commerce or even get maybe you work with a drop shipper and their tracking comes back into Solid Commerce, you can do an export with tracking. That's going to export the orders and show you the tracking details. That one has some stock columns because it needs to display the tracking, so it's not going to reflect the view you're looking at exactly, but it will include the tracking details that you're trying to export. Now, if I perform this export, lets me know my report's in progress, and what happens is it goes into this export history pane. That's also new with this release, and it's actually been showing all the exports immediately, so I don't know why there's any load time here, but there was already exports. Here's the one from today. Oh, I guess it was still exporting it. There was quite a few orders in there. So it wasn't ready yet, but it gives me the opportunity to download it, and you can see it in the history. So I jumped the gun a little bit. You can see now that the history has a number, meaning, hey, you got a new export in here if you want to look at it. And then it does save the old exports as well. So if you deleted it and you want to look at it again, you don't have to re-export. You could go back into your history pane. Last thing to look at that I've categorized under these benefits is to actually look at the order details page. And all of you familiar with the order details in the past, there was a pop-up and it would be congested, it'd be a lot of information on that pop-up. This is just a much cleaner interface. It does have tabs, and that's partly how it looks so much cleaner, but it's much better organized. You can see the order item here with some of the basic information about it. Fees, shipping address, you can edit that by clicking on that pencil. Um, any payment details, tracking information for shipped orders, admin notes would be any notes that you added. Order history is going to show status updates, and also if the address was changed, it will track those historical items. To get out of here, you can X out, and this should refresh. So we're looking at some paid orders again. And usually when you X out of the order details, it just brings you right back to the search that you were already on. So with that, I'll move on to another related element on this release, and that is that we made a slight change to the way we classify orders coming from web stores. Traditionally, we've always called them My Store, which was kind of a big generic bucket that caught all of the orders that weren't from a specific marketplace that we had an integration with, such as eBay, Amazon, Walmart, and so on. Um, we wanted to make it more specific, so we changed that name to Shopping Cart. And where you'd find that is in the All Filters. You're under Sales Channels, and it's called Shopping Carts here. And it would just present you with any connected shopping carts, so being your Shopify, BigCommerce, or so on. Um, it will also be in the rules, the shipping rules, as well. Instead of My Store, it'll be called Shopping Cart. So with that, I'm going to move on to more of the shipping details and comparing shipping traditionally through the desktop tool with shipping here and more kind of the technical information. So um, with that, we'll first talk a little bit about managing orders. And basic order management you can perform from either user interface. So I can select orders, print my pick list out of here. I could alternately go into the legacy and print my pick list out of there. It doesn't really matter either way. So you can perform those kind of activities either way. We saw the export. I could export from here. I could export out of the legacy view. One thing to note with managing order statuses is that if you're updating orders to custom statuses, it's best to just keep working on them through one user interface. So if I update here to one of these custom statuses for these orders, many clients have a status called like ready for shipping or printing, something to that effect. It's still a substatus of paid pending shipment like this status is. I can do that through the new UI, and in fact, let's grab an order here and do a test on it. I'll copy the order number. So I'll take this order and we can move it to one of these um, pending shipment statuses. It's going to give us a confirmation. Hey, is this what you want to do? This is what's about to happen. It lets us know one order will be changed. So we'll go ahead and do that. Now it reflects here. Now one thing to note is if we go into the legacy and we view the same order, it will still be in a paid status, but it won't show the custom status. Now if we change to this custom status through the legacy UI, it would also reflect in the new UI. So that is one difference there to be aware of. And moving on through to more specifically about shipping, you can also continue to ship through both the new order manager and the desktop-based SolidShip shipping tool, as I mentioned. So you have a lot of flexibility, and that's good too as far as a transition. If you want to try out shipping through the UI, see how you like it, you can do that with a few orders while you're still processing the bulk of your orders the way you're used to, so you don't have to change your process right away. You can get things set up in the new UI, and then ultimately, if you like that better, start migrating into that. So you get good flexibility there. And again, you can also print your pick list out of the new UI, but then ship through the desktop tool. So the orders will be marked as shipped no matter how you ship them. So if you ship them out of the UI or you ship them out of the desktop tool, they'll always be updated to shipped in both user interfaces. So no problem or concern there. Now, one thing to note is that when it comes to shipping carriers, the two systems do use separate connections. Meaning that there's a unique set of connections working with the new order manager, and a separate set of connections back onto the desktop-based tool. And what that means is you'd want to come into admin if you want to ship out of the new UI and go to the shipping carriers page, and you'll want to connect to UPS and FedEx through this connection process. When it comes to Endicia, we can actually duplicate your existing connection. So if you have the Endicia account for US Postal, just reach out to your growth advisor or a member of our support team, and we'll go ahead and have a developer migrate that over for you, so that way you don't have to go through the reconnection on that particular carrier. Something else to note about Endicia is that the new order manager works with Endicia label server type accounts. And that's the preferred type of account that Endicia likes for API communication. But it will not work with the Dazzle account, which is the older type of account. The old desktop tool still interacts with Dazzle. Endicia prefers the label server account, so with our newer UI, we only interact with the label server type of account. If you're still using a Dazzle account, one advantage to switching over, besides being able to print your orders through the interface, would be that you can get a free account to get discounted shipping rates. And we can just automatically apply commercial plus pricing, CPP rates, to your labels. For domestically, it would be Priority or Priority Express. We'll get that CPP rate. Internationally, first class, priority, and priority express can all get the discounted rates um, through the Indicia label server type of account. The Dazzle account can't get the special discounted account applied to it. So that's another advantage for you as far as some cost savings if you do print any priority or international orders. And as far as your options, so if you currently have a Dazzle account and you want to switch over to the Indicia label server or ELS type of account to be able to use this and to be able to get your discounts, you have a couple of options. Option one would be to create a new Indicia account through our legacy connection. So that would be an admin shipping carriers legacy, and you would go in here and have USPS selected, click add, and you could go to this register Indicia account. It's a really simple form. You just fill that out, and you want to make sure it's set to an Indicia label server here, and then it will open a new account. And you do also want to make sure to use a unique email address, or there'll be conflicts on Indicia side because they'll be trying to associate the two accounts together. Um, the advantage with this option is that it'll allow you to start using the Indicia label server account. Maybe you print some test labels out of the new UI and you're still using the Dazzle account with the desktop tool. It gives you a little transition time because you have both accounts. Then you can update your profiles here to be Indicia label server and migrate off of Dazzle and just close that account out with Indicia. There's a second option if you want to move over to Indicia label server, and that would be to contact Indicia support and request that they convert your account from Dazzle to Indicia label server. And I know they've done that in the past, so it is something that they have done and could do. But I have also heard of some clients making that request and Indicia support saying that they can't do that. So that could be hit and miss. The other thing with that is it's a break, right? So it will go from Dazzle to Indicia label server. So you'll want to make sure to update your connection right away so that desktop solid ship will still continue to work. It'll just work through Indicia label server. So the desktop tool does support Indicia label server, no problem there. It gets the discounted rates just like the UI, so there is that advantage to it. Now, if you if you do want to switch to from Dazzle to Indicia label server, and you get your new account, you will want to make sure you have a separate profile in here in the legacy carrier settings for the Indicia label server. And then again, just contact your growth advisor or our support, and we'll have that migrated over for you. Last note on this topic as far as carriers is that that stamps.com is not supported through the new user interface, and we don't have any plans to support specifically stamps.com. So it's US Postal works through Indicia. And we're almost wrapping up here. The next topic is shipping rules. And similar to the carriers, the new order manager works off a separate set of shipping rules to automate your label printing than the desktop tool. So as you're starting to ship with the new UI, you will want to create some new rules, and you would do that through the new rule page here. And it's very easy to create them, just new shipping rule. The interface is cleaner, but it's the same basic options that you had in the legacy interface. And you can even, have one tab with the legacy interface and one with the new if you want to reference a specific rule and just duplicate that. So you can add rules as you need them. One cool thing with the new UI when you're using the rules to automate the label printing is that at the top it shows which rule is being applied. So this particular order doesn't have a rule that's applying to it, but it would show the name of the rule. So at least you know what's going on if you go order by order. If you select a batch of orders, because you can also process orders in bulk, you see that this override shipping options notification appears, and any settings that you apply will be applied to all the orders. So if you pick, FedEx Ground, for an example, it will apply to all three of these orders. But if you have rules in place and you hit print, the system on the on the back end, as it processes each order, it will go through the rules and apply the correct order. So it's not going to apply the same rule to all of these. It will actually go through for each order and make sure the correct rule is applied as it works through your batch. So that's the rules and shipping in bulk. And last thing is just regarding shipping through the SolidShip desktop tool. Um, You don't need to make any changes at all to keep shipping through the desktop based tool. All of your shipping rules are still the same as they were. They will still continue to apply. The carriers are unchanged. They'll continue to work. So there's no breaking change here. Again, it's just about bringing you the new interface, allowing you to test it out, to migrate over. If you want to print through the UI, great. If not, continue to use the desktop tool. Um, so I just want to make sure that was clear. There's no action that you need to take to continue to ship through the desktop tool. And with that, that'll wrap us up. I do know one of the participants was asking to become the presenter. What we'll do is just, if you want to hang on, we could do that offline from the group, and we'll take a look at that. But as far as the webinar, if there's no questions, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. One of the attendees said that he had asked a question about comparing prices, and really the way that the prices work is just uh, is to give you the estimate. So an estimate will appear down here if you have a specific method selected and you're connected to the carrier. So that's how you get more of a price estimate, and if you change your ship with setting, then it will change the estimate. One of the attendees asked a question about the packing slips. That would be something we'd have to look at individually. I haven't seen that be a problem. So what they were saying is that when they print multiple packing slips, they're getting an overlap, and it could be some setting because the packing slips run off HTML. So there could be something inside the HTML, but we'd have to look at that on a specific basis. So either, if you don't mind, just to reach out to your growth advisor or a member of our support team, and we'll take a look at it specifically. But that's not a known issue. It's probably specific to the HTML that that is defining your packing slip. Uh, had a question about scale inputs. So you do have the ability to set up a scale. Sorry, let me make that a little more specific. If you're in this Ship Now flyout pane, you have this little scale icon. If you click on it, it will allow you to, it gives you instructions and will allow us to recognize your scale. Once you do that setup once, then we could just read the weights off the scale, and as you hit print, it's going to trigger us to pull that weight in right off the scale for you. So that is something that we'll automate. Yeah, I just want to, take a moment again to thank everybody for their time. I know everybody's busy. We're really excited to bring this out, and we thought giving you a visual on it, giving you a quick tour would be the best way to get you some good information. I hope it was informative at the least. But yeah, thank you guys for your time, and hope that you have a good rest of the day.